Dave.
Developed in Depth Live.
Live, that's true. Oh my god. It's an experiment and I'm already not saying the right name. Anyway. How's it going, Jess? It's been a while.
Yeah, yeah, it has been a while. But yeah, things are going, as well as they as well as they can be. It's
I think we met like, when did we met? Like 1 year ago or something like that?
like in the summer, I think it would have been like
Yeah.
yeah, summer-ish. It's hard to tell because we filmed in the office and the air conditioning is really strong, so I can't tell from looking at the video what it was like outside.
But it's been really, really crazy. It's been kind of like a year since we recorded that, so I'm sure
It
that there are a lot
has.
of cool stuff that we can talk about. But I'm
Yeah,
just
it's
gonna,
been
yeah, go ahead.
this is constant video history. I was gonna say, yeah, it's been obviously a bit of a year for everybody, but it's been a bit of a year for me as well. There's been like changes in like what I've been doing, and like some of my outlook maybe has a bit changed. But I think when looking back over the interview, I yeah, I agree with all the things that I said. But I think there's yeah updates.
That's really awesome. So let me do like a quick kind of like summary, like what's the structure, what we will talk about. So people in the chat, we are right now in everywhere. Yes, like we are everywhere, literally.
Hello everywhere. Hello everyone.
I see Alejandro on the chat. Hi, Alex. I see Matt. So the idea basically, we will talk about like our experiences and Jess' experience working from home as a Microsoft senior engineer, and then we will talk a little bit about the interview that we did. That is coming up right after the live, so you should check it out. But yeah, hola Anita. Oh, I see you all also connected. But yeah, let's start it. Yes, so I know we live in a very crazy world right now, but how's things for you right now? Like,
Um, so I think in general, I consider myself someone who's fairly good at being alone. Like I'm all right with my own company, but there's being alone, and then there's being alone. So it's been ups and downs. Work has been kind of the most constant thing, almost. We were quite set up for remote work already. We have like all the tech for video conferencing and everything, so it kind of felt like when everything was in upheaval, work kind of just carried on, and has continued to carry on.
yeah, I think for us, like developers, it's kind of like very easy, I think, in the sense like at least for our setup and the way we are used to work. I think working from home is not like a big deal apart from being away from your colleagues and stuff like that. That is really hard. But I don't know, like, what were the main challenges for you? Because I know like there
Uh,
can be a lot.
yeah, I so before I never really worked from home. I would always prefer to go in the office, so I'd like sort of change of scene, like right, I'm in work mode now, and just being around people. Um, and I didn't really want to dedicate the space in my house to having a good like work setup. Um, I think to begin with, I did find the ergonomics quite challenging. I think that's still a big challenge for me because when you're at your desk, when you have meetings, you have to get up and go to the meetings. Then you're somewhere different, and I struggle with ergonomics in the office as well. But in the like when I'm sort of in this corner of my room, on whatever chair that I could get. I felt like I didn't really want to go out and buy a big expensive chair without sitting on it, but I feel like I'm going to have to do that at some point. Um, like sort of getting up and just having this space to move around. Everything feels very cramped. I had a week's holiday and I realised that go I could go 10 paces from my desk if I squeezed into the corner of my bedroom. Um,
But did you allocate like for example, for me, I come to this room like nobody was using that. I've been working here for a while. Like, this was kind of like the Jorge's room slash the room where we do stuff, some ironing. But yeah, this is kind of like my place. So what I did was, investing so much into buying stuff and relocating, reordering, trying to think about like the ergonomics. And also I put this whiteboard because it was very annoying when people were joining the room. In your case, like, what did you do? Like, what was the first thing, like, oh, I invested X on this.
So the first thing I got was so I was a bit ill when this thing kicked off. So I was already at home when the proper work from home order came through. I made sure I had like headphones, a webcam, and a better chair than the because I just had folding IKEA chairs in my house, right? Because I never had really any need to sit for a long time anywhere in my house. So I got a sort of stopgap chair. Um, and the first thing I actually did, so my desk used to face the wall. The first thing I ended up doing was turning the desk around so it faced into the room because I couldn't face the wall all day. So I pushed the desk back against the wall at the weekends, but I have it out more in the room during the week.
Oh,
And
so
also
you
because the floor in my house is not really flat, so if it's up by because it's the house sort of the floor goes like that. So if it's up
really?
against the wall, then I'm slightly sliding down.
That's so funny. But actually, like, you have like a designated room for that, or
I have a designated corner of the room. So this is actually one of the only times. So I'm in my work corner now. This is one of the only times that I've been in my sort of work area outside of work. Usually, if I'm not actually working, I will be on the sofa or at the kitchen table. Yeah, I think because for me going to the office was a big like psychological thing to like motivate me and make me feel like I was in a workspace and that I had clear boundaries. I took this, you always get the advice to have like a workspace. I took that quite seriously, and it's hard to balance that with sort of getting up and moving around enough. Because when you have your designated space to be in that space, you end up sat quite still. So that's been a bit tricky.
in your case, because for me, I think the value of going to the office is mainly, like to connect with my peers as well as with random people. Like something that I really miss is going to the kitchen and have lunch with or either my team or some random folks there. Um, Apart from that, I feel like I can do my work perfectly fine here. Like I don't really need to go there. But in your case, what was the main thing? Like you mentioned the psychological thing, but what was the main trigger for you, like for going to the office?
Um, Mostly that, and I think partly habit. I didn't used to live somewhere where it was really that feasible to work from home at all, so it was always just like going to the office. And yeah, I think it's sort of having, yeah, having boundaries, and also it's being around people, and it's that they're paying the electricity bills, and it just it made sense for me to have a place that was work that I went to, and I miss bumping into people a lot. And we've got some new starters starting, and it's been quite weird having new people that I haven't met face to face, and like how do you make a good environment for them? Because it feels like calling someone is quite a like it's quite a, I think I found this with communication across the board. Like I don't bump into people anymore. I'm never like
Um,
out somewhere and run into someone that I know and get chatting. Everyone I communicate with is very deliberate. It's like, okay, let's get on a call. That sort of organic communication doesn't really happen. And also video calls are just very tiring. I think I've started turning my video off during meetings, so that I'm not sort of thinking about what I look like or
yeah.
looking at myself. So I turn it on when I want to talk so that people can see my gestures and what have you, but mostly I have it off. And that's something that's changed over time. I think at the beginning, everyone wanted to be on video all the time, wanted to be talking all the time, wanted to sort of feel like everything was normal, but actually, I think we learned that our brains don't really like that too much.
Oh, I see. I don't know, cause uh, it's true that if I'm in a meeting and I'm the passive voice, like I'm just there for listening, I think doesn't really matter, like either if I turn on the camera or not. But if I'm in a meeting with my team, etc., I always try to put my camera on, like
Yeah.
because I don't know, when you're talking with somebody and you want to see their reactions, It happens to me.
Yeah. I think when I always put it on at the beginning of the meeting to sort of like
Yeah.
say hi to people. And if it's quite a small meeting where there's a lot of interaction, I will probably have it on. But when it gets to a larger meeting, um, where you're not like always directly contributing all the time, then I would often turn it off.
You mentioned earlier startups. Like, are you building new startup inside Microsoft?
No, I don't think I mentioned.
Oh, okay. So then I got it wrong. I got it
Got
wrong.
the wrong idea there.
But in your case, so give us more context right now. Like, in which team are you working on, and what's kind of like what changed? Because that will help out more, like to understand better that situation.
So when we shot the new starters, yes, thanks, Anita.
I'm improving my listening skills. I promise. New
Anita's
starters, no
always
starters.
ready to rescue me.
Thanks, Anita.
When I first, so when we shot the video, I was on the front end mobile team, a team that I'd been on for 5 years roughly at that point. I'd super like bedded in and found a niche there. But I just, I got into a rut and I got like, I couldn't keep doing the same thing over and over. So I moved to the back end cloud services team, so still at SwiftKey.
Oh, nice.
So we deliver all the parts of SwiftKey, the features that are delivered from the cloud. So we built that. So it's been interesting that to be in that position of not knowing anything, to be the new person who doesn't know. You don't know what any of the words mean. You don't know what any of the things are for. You don't know how anything works. I think going through that process again, I don't know if it's easier or harder. I think it was interesting to find that even with that going on, I still had a lot to contribute. That I sort of had ideas about like how to work the team and how to like bring out the best in the other developers on the team. It was nice to be able to balance like the skills that I already had with learning new things.
How was that particular moment where you say, I'm done with this. I need something else?
It wasn't a moment.
I know it's more like a process where you discovered that.
And a long process.
But that particular time that you said, okay, I'm moving, like.
Yeah, no, it was tough. It was painful. I think it's hard when there's something that you enjoyed that kind of suddenly you're not enjoying anymore, and it takes a lot to sort of drill down and work out what's wrong. I think it's not always immediately obvious when you feel like that. I think it feels a bit like when people describe burnout, that feeling of when you get up in the morning and you're like, oh, I can't believe I have to go to that place again. And because people you think of burnout as being something that happens when you've worked too hard on something or too long hours, and I think that is obviously that can cause burnout, but for me I think just when you've been on something a long time, you can just disengage and just not have any
passion, any energy,
motivation for it, and it's I think it's a challenge to dig yourself out of that.
And also because after 5 years, you reach to a certain position, certain knowledge, where you can lead new projects or doing a super huge impact, and suddenly it's kind of like you will do it because, I mean, it's not like you change your company. So I think company and context is one of the most important things when doing this kind of stuff. But yeah, you kind of completely change your knowledge in that. Well,
yeah, and I think I found by sticking in the same sort of broader team and the same company, I found like it felt a really safe way to do that. But when I was taking a leap of being like, oh, I'm gonna have to suddenly not know anything, that I was doing it with people who knew me and trusted me, that I was like, I knew that they would have faith that I would get there, and they knew that I knew that. Um, it felt a lot easier than sort of if I was to go somewhere else and be like, "Hey, I know nothing about this, but you should totally hire me." And I think having those relationships already built, that definitely helped.
That helped. And you know, like, how was people with you? I guess supportive, but what was your? How did you accomplish your transition? Where something that even before moving to another team, you started to pick up some small backend stories and stuff like that. It was from one day to the other, like, okay, I'm just gonna do a whole like onboarding process into backend, and that's gonna be the story.
It was fairly rapid transition. There was one project that I was tech leading on that I kept for a while, even when I wasn't doing any tasks on it. Um, but that was sort of part of the transition. There were also other changes on the team where it made sense for me to move in a little bit of a hurry, so that I could pick up more information in that handover.
That's great. We got a question from Anita. So Anita is asking, how would you compare working server side versus mobile app development?
That's an interesting one. I think it's hard for me to disentangle that between the team culture on both of them. I think so. I went from a team that was very big and had quite rigorous processes.
How
and was
big?
quite, I guess like 15-ish people
Oh, yeah.
overall.
With PMs, designers, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, well, they have very rigorous processes and a lot of touch points with, yeah, as you say, other disciplines, PMs, designers, etc. To a team that was more smaller, more focused, had less contact with those things. So I could bring those relationships, which was really good. But I think the cultural change of the team was more noticeable to me than the change in tech. In terms of the change in tech, I think so. I changed language, which was more of a surprise than more tricky than I thought. You think, oh, you know one language, you know them all, but definitely there are some quirks that you keep finding, and you do have to change your mindset. Or that it can be between some languages, there could be a big difference in mindset. I think also just in backend there are so many things, like so many concepts, so many words, so many products and things that you integrate with. Like I would go to a meeting and I would come out with a list of like 5 or 10 words that I just didn't know. I didn't know what they meant.
Like for example?
I can't remember now. I don't have my notebooks with me.
Yeah, well, like crazy, yeah. All these lines.
Because it's like you're interacting with all these kind of services and providers and platforms, as well as this sort of more core concepts, everything around databases like SQL versus NoSQL, for example.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of concepts that it seems very daunting. I find it challenging to learn about things. I've actually sort of gone and sat and watched video courses just to be like, I'm gonna like spoon feed myself this stuff so that I feel confident when I go out and talk about it.
Well, so what was the stack in Swift versus when you in the front end versus the back end? I guess you were using Kotlin for the front end, or
Yes, Java and Kotlin.
And then in the back end?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how much about our stack is
published.
Knowledge,
yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not going to go into it on the video. But yeah, just by virtue of being a back-end stack is
nice. That's really awesome. So thanks for the question, Anita. If you got any other more questions, drop it in the chat. I'm keep an eye on that. It's very interesting, the fact that you went from everything to nothing in a very short amount of time. How did that affect you mentally? Was kind of like a boost in a way, or was kind of that like, oh my god?
It was tough because I think it's easy to be like tough on yourself. It's easy to feel like, you know, you're not you're not doing very much, or you're flailing around, or you're like bothering people, or stuff is going in one ear and out of the other.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I think yeah, it wasn't easy. I did have to remember to like be gentle with myself and sort of think about how like what I would say to if it was a new person on my team that was feeling that way, and not like hold myself to like ridiculous standards.
The interesting part is that so when you face that I burn out well, I wasn't burn out that like I felt that I burn out, but it's it's okay. I mean it's kind of like I had the feeling of what you're saying, like being working like 12, 14 hours per day, and having and feel like, okay, oh my god, I don't have energy for doing anything else, and I don't I was passionate, but at the same time, I was like completely drained of energy and stuff like that. The interesting part is that in your case, it was more like a motivation sort of thing. So it's not like you were exhausted. It was more like, well, you could be exhausted, but for other reasons. Um, but I think you took the path of completely chain into a backend team, but for example, you could go into a PM position or a manager position or something else. So, why did you think like your natural path was going into that direction rather than being a manager or something else?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think it's because it always felt like a bit of a mystery to me. It was always something that I'd boxed away as something that those people dealt with, and it made me feel like, I guess, um, I wanted to like tackle it head on, this thing that had scared me, and I wanted to feel like in control, like I could understand the whole system. Like I felt like I had a good
Yeah.
understanding of the front end, and if I could understand all the pieces, then maybe that would be a path to either having a role with more of an overview of a big team, or like going to a startup, or running my own thing, or being freelance. I just felt like it would open a lot of doors that I had closed to myself, and I still felt like I was in a position that I still wanted to be learning and to be opening doors for myself, rather than having a specific goal of something that I wanted to work towards.
That's interesting. You are becoming a rock star. Like you know the front end,
Don't
you
use
know the
that word.
back end. No, I'm joking. But
Yeah,
you
no.
know, no, I think it's very very interesting. I see so many people like they are only focused on one particular piece of the stack, and it's great. I think like the more you can focus on something, the better, because you will dive deep so much into that knowledge that you will acquire, you know, like a mastery or even like a deep knowledge on that. But I agree with you that if, for example, your long-term goals could be building your startups or moving to somewhere else to do something, the broader picture you can have, the better. Or at least that's how I see myself. Because if you're for so long working on a particular thing in a very focused way, that's great. But at the same time, you're missing so many other things. So I think that's very smart. And also that is awesome is that Microsoft allows you to do that. Like was a very easy thing to do. So
Yeah, it was it was pretty easy. I don't know that it's always easy. Things are always they depend on what opportunities are available, but yeah, I think definitely everyone everyone who had a part in making it happen was definitely like 100% behind me.
yeah, and also you position it yourself into that kind of like into a win situation in the sense that you were kind of like, okay, I'm leading this project. People around you knew like your intentions of maybe do a transition, and when the opportunity arrives, you were like, all right, let's do it. So I think that's also great, like a great lesson learned for everybody that is going through the same path right now. Like try to see, okay, I'm in this position, but maybe I can find other opportunities inside the same company that is gonna be a little bit easier. And just be open into that positions and tell the people. Were you very vocal on that? Like, were you very like telling the people around you like this is my intention, I want to do a transition, or were you more like manager and kind of like a small group
It
of people?
was it was quite gradual. I think telling people. I can't remember who I told first. I think I bounced the idea around a few times before really committing to it. So yeah, there were. I was having conversations, and then it kind of became my manager's story to tell at the point when it was decided. It didn't like there were things that I would talk. I would talk to my friends and people about it, but I would wait for him to send out emails being like so and so moving to whatever.
Um, I want to talk about like after this COVID-19 situation. Do you see yourself working remote? Like, is that something that you would love to do, like working remote, or you're so much into the office workspace that you're kind of
It,
like, please
yeah,
open it again?
it's something I've been thinking about. I find it hard to imagine what it's going to be like when this is over. To be honest, I find it hard to visualize that really at all. Um, but I think I would miss like I don't know. I think the thing I'd miss is like being able to like easily like work out and stuff at lunch times because we don't have a gym at the office. Um, that because here in my house I could just like put on a YouTube like workout video or something and I can
Mm,
do that like so that's kind of my routine that I'll do that and then I'll like make my lunch and then I'll eat my lunch and then I'll come back to work. Um, I think that's a part of the routine that I would miss.
and did the company give you like budget for buying accessories and stuff like that, or like were
Um,
the company supporting kind of like the ergonomics for your home, or?
it's been a bit confusing. There's
I
been
see.
like bureaucracy around it. Um,
Mm. Because in our
yeah,
case, they allow us to pick it up things like they gave us like 2 days or 3 days notice. Like, hey, just come to the office, pick up the
yeah.
things that you need.
We had we had similar, but I think because I was ill at the beginning, I didn't like scoop up a bunch of stuff when I went home. I was kind of lucky to have my laptop really, um, and it's kind of hard for me to get to the office. It's on
Oof,
like
yeah.
it's yeah.
They are locked down. At least in my office, if I go with my badge, I cannot access.
So
So
I could get in. It's just getting there.
yeah. Okay, so we are about 8 p.m. So we are gonna do something, a tradition, a very short tradition, which is gonna be enabling your interview on developersindev.com. So the premiere is gonna be in about 15 minutes, but we will enable your interview and we will reveal the next interviewee. So that's very exciting. Who do you think is gonna be next? That's a very broad question. I will give you a spoiler or a hint. Is someone
Your
work?
your video broke up there.
Oh, my video broke.
It's
Uh,
fine.
it's
I'll,
fun.
I'll let
I,
you take this. I think it's fine now.
I will give you a hint. Is somebody working in a car company, in a car tech company, or in a company that builds applications for mobility? Oh my god, I said so much.
Company that builds applications for mobility. Um, I don't know. You'll have to tell me. I never go anywhere anymore.
Is
What is a car? What does that say?
okay, the people in the chat, I want you to guess the company right now. So put a comment, like, who do you think we are going to interview? In which company do you think we are going to interview the next person? So I'm just telling you that a mobility company. So we are going to reveal that really soon. Um,
One thing that struck me when I watched back the interview as well that's changed over the last year, um, and I think this is perhaps more in the 360. I think I felt at the time like I didn't have a lot of like control or influence, but I think that the sort of like tech worker organizing scene has really grown in the last 6 months in the last year. I think at the time I felt like maybe I didn't have a voice. Now I feel a lot more like I'm not alone and I do have a voice. Um, we're seeing these things like the environmental announcements that companies like Microsoft are doing. A lot of that is coming from tech worker pressure. So I think that is something that has changed for me over the last year.
Oh, that's
That
interesting. So
that
what
agency that I felt like maybe before I guess I felt like maybe a bit of a passenger, like I just turn up and do stuff. But now I feel like
you are more in
also like
control over what you are shipping and stuff like that?
not so much what I'm shipping, but that there's a lot more of a conversation around it, around responsibility, around activism within tech.
Ah, got it. So the company's allowing you to do more of that stuff, and before it was more kind of like a shutdown. Well, not shutdown, but not encourage.
No, it's not so much that. It's that just that it wasn't that visible, or I didn't know how to connect with people. I didn't know how to find people who
Mm.
felt the same way that I did. But now I'm feeling like there's more of a movement.
I see. So you mentioned that it's more like tech in general, but in particular, you're feeling that around Microsoft right now, which is great.
Yeah, I think there's a strong presence of it in Microsoft.
I love it. I love that you're saying that because right now we are seeing kind of like the now and then we will see the before. So it's very interesting the combination. So we are going to reveal that. So the next person works for Lyft, mobility, Lyft. And it's called Marcos Iglesias. So he's a front-end engineer at Lyft, a senior front-end engineer, and he's really good on dashboards, basically, like D3 and stuff like that. So really cool. And right now, what we're gonna do is enabling your interview in developersindev.com. We are gonna launch to production together, yes.
Nice.
You are gonna tell me when
This
to
is a time of
release.
day that I'm not usually pushing to production.
So can you see my screen right now? Well, you should if you are in the live stream, but I think I'm not sharing the screen with you. So if I go to developersindev.com, I'm gonna share real quick. Can you see my? Do you have the YouTube?
I'll watch it on the live stream.
Okay, come.
I'll put it on the live stream.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So you see right now your Jess upcoming interview in 3 minutes. In fact, it's saying 3 minutes. So we are gonna release to production right now. So this was the staging that I was doing yesterday. And now we are gonna release to production. Very excited, very excited. I hope nothing will break. Same story. So this is gonna be version 1.19.0. This is gonna be enable Jess interview plus at Marcos Iglesias upcoming interview. I've just do this because I like to be very very clear on what I'm pushing. All right, all right, all right, all right.
Clarity is one of my main values.
Okay, we will count like 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna press the button. Do you want to do it together?
I'll count on my fingers. I think we can't talk together.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Done. Pushing. Okay, I hope nothing will break. We will see. We will see in 1 or 2 minutes probably. So yeah, we are wrapping up a little bit. I'm gonna show you. So if you go to developersindev.com, you will see right now. Well, once it refresh, you will see your interview right there, and also we'll enable the full interview, the developers in dev, the 30 minutes interview. And now, if you go to YouTube and if you wanna keep doing, Jess developers in depth. We will have right now the premiere. So yes, if you can come to the other live stream and you can chat and see what people is talking about the 360, that would be so awesome. So the link will be, it's actually on the description below, so you can join there. And there we go. We have the first one there, Microsoft Senior Software Engineer, Jess Pumphrey. So if you click there, the premiere will start in 10 minutes. So we will be there. So we are wrapping up. I really appreciate. Thanks so much for your time. Let me change the view so we will see side by side. So professional. So we are wrapping up, Jess. You know that I really love when I finish like discussions or interviews, whatever. I always like to ask you like, okay, what's the final quote that you want to share with people? So feel free to say something that you want to share. Maybe kind of like the biggest lesson learned for you in the past year. Like I think you went through a really awesome process. So maybe you can share something to inspire people, or just like to
Yeah,
share whatever.
I think bringing everything together, I think it's don't be afraid to make a change in your own life, and don't be afraid to make change more broadly.
I like it. I like it. Make a change. So yeah, that's pretty much the interview. The 360 interview is coming up really soon in 10 minutes. So we will connect there. But yeah, I just want to say thanks, yes, so much for your time and for joining this pilot. This DID live is the first time that I do a live stream with somebody else. It's kind of like funny, but I think it went quite well. I hope you really have fun. And to all the people who commented and to who were in the chat, thanks so much. So we will see you very soon in the 360. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop the streaming.
Bye everyone. Thanks.
Bye bye.